On the southern coast of South Africa lies the town of Knysna. Home to over 10,000 people, this is a beautiful part of the world. The town is surrounded by forests, both indigenous and commercial plantations. Early on the morning of the 7th of June, Knysna Fire Services were alerted to a fire in the Damsabos area of the Kreisfontein plantation. On arrival, they found the fire well underway. It had crossed the N2 National Road and was burning through the plantation towards Pizula Estate and Harkerville Forest. Driven by the gale force winds, burning embers were thrown ahead of the fire, causing spot fires and dramatically increasing the rate of spread. One of these spot fires landed on the edge of the Harkerville Forest, in the plantation. Fanned by these winds, the fire was driven through the plantation, being funneled by the topography and the indigenous forest. As the fire raged through the plantation, it crossed paths with Ian Barnard and Bradley Richards. Travelling into the fire from a northeast direction were Ian Barnard, Bradley Richards, Sean Lee de Almeida and Real Foss. Ian and Bradley were on board their firefighting Buffel, which is an ex-military vehicle converted for firefighting. The vehicle is a workhorse, powerful, but can be heavy and cumbersome. The two other volunteers, Sean Lee de Almeida and Real Foss, had planned to meet up with Barnard and Richards at the Sasol garage on the N2, where all four of them were then going to head into Harkerville together on the Buffel. Ian Barnard, driving the Buffel, did not stop at the garage to pick up Sean Lee de Almeida or Real Foss, as planned. After seeing the Buffel go by and after filling up with fuel, Sean and Real then had to drive after the Buffel in their own bakkie. After navigating their way through the unburned indigenous forest and a network of turns and roads, Barnard and Richards led the way towards a very active area of the fire.
We're standing here in the Kranzerhoek area in the Knysna region. Behind me there's a vehicle parked in the same position where the Buffel carrying Ian Barnard and Bradley Richards got overrun by fire. We're here a couple of months after the incident just to analyze the area and see if we can try and understand as best we can how fire moved to this environment and also understand the dynamics of what happened with the incident. Just looking at the terrain, the dynamics of how the wind moves through this area. To my left-hand side, there's a draw coming up off the ocean that's sucking in a lot of air upslope. And then to my right-hand side, there's a box valley with quite a big bowl to it. And there was a prevailing wind moving from in front of me directly towards the vehicle. And what we can see by some of the indicators, the burn scars in the area, and what we can deduce by trying to understand the dynamics of the wind in the terrain, is that with the prevailing wind coming over the top, it would have sucked down the box valley and also at the same time drawn in oxygen from the ocean up this draw. Now, if you look at these two different factors coming to play, and considering we had a prevailing northwester really pushing hard 60 to 100 kilometers over this area, you can just imagine the air pushing into this valley and wrapping around and coming down towards the ocean. But then you've got the draw as well, pulling and sucking the air up. And with the intensity of the fire behavior, also wanting to draw in as much oxygen as possible, and this downward push of the air and the upward push of the air, they had to come together at some stage and combine. And the weak point on this slope is in this sort of channel here. So if you can imagine fire moving like water through this area, it would have run up the slope directly towards the vehicle. This was possibly a reason why the fire accelerated through this area and the vehicle unawares as it tried to come down into this area.
Okay, on Wednesday morning we got a call from Bitou Fire Department to be deployed to the Knysna fire, and we had a briefing quickly at 6:30 in the morning, and half of our team couldn't go, so myself and Steve, we proceeded to go through to Knysna and fight the fires in Knysna, and we left the other crew behind, which was Ian, Brad, Sean and Fossey, and they were going to join up later because they had work to do. And when we were down in Knysna fighting there for about 4 hours, and on the way back, while we were in there and it was under control, all the houses were safe. The chief from Knysna asked us if we can please be deployed here to the Kranshoek, what's this place called? The Kranshoek
View Site.
Kranshoek View Site to come and help the firefighters this side. In the meantime, our guys were deployed, which is Ian, Brad, Sean and Fossey. And en route here, we found out that one of our mates was also in the forest, driving around, assessing the fire and whatever. And Ian and Brad came through with the buffle, and my son, lucky enough, was following behind in his vehicle because he was too late to climb on the vehicle, so he just followed through in his vehicle. And obviously they came across this side, couldn't find Andrew, and then when they were trying to turn around, it was too late. They were caught in the head of the fire. And lucky enough, my son was behind, well, not too far behind. He reversed up and he was looking for them. And eventually they saw Ian and Brad, and they managed to pull them out to safety, climbed on the back of the bucky and rushed them straight off to hospital. And further that more, after that, we heard the news when we got back to the view site for a briefing to be deployed to Kranshoek later on, because the head was carrying on across the coastal belt through Kranshoek and into the farming areas on the other side. And that's when we all got together and carried on fighting the fire for the rest of the 3 days or 4 days that we've been fighting these fires. Yeah, the fire was coming from the west side along the coastal belt, from Knysna side, which obviously was coming at one hell of a speed, because when we were in Knysna, it was charging quite rapidly anyway because of the winds. So yeah, it was a difficult one. It was a quick decision that he had tried to make, and obviously we don't know what happened, why the buffle's in this, or our fire truck is standing in this position. Obviously he was trying to reverse to get out when he saw the head was coming, and then found out it was too late, and obviously they tried to jump and left the vehicle where it was standing and try to get to safety, obviously from my son's bucky, to get out of the head of the fire, and which obviously they managed to do, and got them out to safety. Brad was still talking and everything as well, what I heard, and he was still pretty okay, but he was just very obviously shocked, and obviously rushed him off to hospital, and it was taken from there. And then they tried to they monitored him and whatever, and eventually we got the news that he had passed on. Okay, that's what's left of his helmet in my right hand, bullet helmet, and obviously his radio.
And his cell phone.
And there's his cell phone. Our next vehicle that we're making up and doing up again, our next fire truck, we're going to name it after him, in memory of him. Sorry, I'm getting emotional.
Yeah, we're looking at getting another vehicle similar to this. And yeah, that'll be called the Bradley Richards, without a doubt.
At the top of this box valley, looking down at the vegetation and how it's burnt, it's interesting to see where the fire has burned through in different intensities, and try and imagine what path it made through the area. If I look just on the left side of the box valley, the vegetation and the trees, it hasn't burnt 100%. It's not burnt. All the fuels haven't burnt on the trees. So on the upper canopies, there's even still a little bit of a green part of the vegetation, the pine tree, left over. If you start moving down the valley a little bit, you can see there's an area with a greater degree of char, where almost 100% of the tree is burnt, and it's just the tree trunk remaining. And that's where the vehicle attempted to do its turnaround and was overrun by fire. Now, if you take into consideration the prevailing wind, which was coming over the top and pushing down this box valley, it kind of makes sense, or you can deduce that possibly the fire made a greater run with greater intensity through that area where the vehicle is attempting to turn around and get away from the fire. By understanding the dynamics of the wind and the terrain, and how the fire will burn through an area in terms of looking at the fuels and how everything combines, it's incredibly important for how you approach future operations, and it gives you a base knowledge of understanding, and it makes you look at areas in terms of where you're going to in operations a whole lot differently. It gives you a much broader base of experiences to draw upon when you go into other operations, and that's what every firefighter should be doing. It's not just about doing your coursework and your learning, it's about real life operational experience and also analyzing incidents and fires after the fact. So you can take all that knowledge, combine it, and put it into your strategical and tactical planning moving forward in the operations that you work on.
Wildland firefighters have a safety code, which helps to guide them during operations. This is made up of the 10 standard fire orders and the 18 watch-out situations. And these, along with other safety guidelines, can be found in the Incident Response and Fireline Safety Pocket Guide. Let's go through the 10 standard orders, seemingly not taken into account in this incident. Initiate all actions based on current and predicted fire behavior. Determine escape routes and safety zones. Establish lookouts in potentially hazardous or dangerous situations. Stay alert, keep calm, think clearly, and act decisively. Remain in communication with your crew, your supervisor, and all adjoining resources at all times. Ensure that instructions are given, are clear, and are understood. Remain in control of your resources at all times. And last of all, once you've made sure all the others are in place, fight fire aggressively, having provided for safety first. Of the 18 watch-out situations, the following weren't identified or taken note of. Safety zones and escape routes not identified. Terrain and fuels make escape routes difficult. Unfamiliar with weather and local factors affecting fire behavior. Frequent spot fires occurring over the fire line. Uninformed on strategy, tactics, and hazards. Instructions and assignments not clear. Fire not scouted or sized up. Constructing or working on fire line without a safe anchor point. Unburned fuel between yourself and the fire line. Weather getting hotter and drier. Wind increases and/or changes direction, also dust and/or fire whirls occurring. No communication link with crew members, supervisors, or other resources. The 10 standard orders and the 18 watch-out situations can save firefighters' lives, but only if they are aware and apply them. With the benefit of hindsight, if Barnard and Richards applied the 10 and 18, there should have been a point where they paused, assessed their situation, and set the appropriate tactics. This incident highlights the importance of allowing time to size up the situation and maintain situational awareness, not rushing headlong into operations.